as you need.
Okay,
So,
as much as we need, okay?
I'll
We'll
just-
take the whole meeting.
is it you, Dr. Turner?
It's Dr. Turner, myself, I believe Mary Trich, our communications director,
Okay.
will be here also, and Glenda Du Bois, who's a volunteer.
I had all of them except for, what was the second one? you
Mary
mentioned?
Trich. And I'm not positive she's gonna be here, but I think she
Okay,
is.
I saw her last.
Tritsch. As difficult as you could possibly make Trich. Yes, yes. Yes.
Okay.
What's her husband's name,
Dan, do you know Dan?
I know, I'm thinking, because she goes by Mary, is there a middle name?
Yes.
Like, not like Mary Ann or Mary?
No, she goes by Mary, just Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Dan works for the state,
From Hiawatha originally?
yes, yeah, you know who we're talking
Yeah,
about. so.
yeah, I know, years ago, I golfed with his brother, but yeah, he attended some Royals
Yes.
service and stuff,
Yeah.
so,
He's a big fan.
yeah.
So, this is my first time at a county commission.
Oh, well,
Oh, they-
Am I?
congratulations.
Exciting from, just like,
they go in.
I don't know, I'm Andy.
I'm Randy Luby, I'm
Hi,
the
Randy.
Park Services Director.
Oh, great, okay, it's nice to actually meet you, I know your name.
Yeah, we were just talking on the way in about how.
You
Yeah,
waiting to
that's
get
what
on
I say
here?
every morning is, I
I don't
hope
see
I get
my
to do
thumb drive. I
tapes,
just put
both
in there
of these.
anywhere.
Well, I'm just glad you're here, because I told him, I said, well, if I'm not here, I'm a member of ARP, I could just,
You can just say, hey, I'm ready to be back. Yeah, I think Dr. Turner wants to say a few words.
That's right.
Nothing extravagant, but just kind of, we're glad to be working with you. We'll talk a little bit about the history of how we came. It's for our 60th anniversary, for ARP's 60th anniversary, with the one park in the state.
There we go.
There it is.
Wasn't
Thank you.
fully connected.
And I love rural private
Let's
sector.
see, what is going on?
All right,
It's
Linda,
gonna be nice.
where are you at? Really taking on the life of its own.
Well,
There we
I
go.
haven't been by, but I know the sidewalks are going in and all the
Sidewalks are in.
equipment was being done. You can stop by and see us.
I had to come in the front door, because this side is all jammed up down there. Pictures are.
Good morning.
Good
Yeah,
morning.
let me get over there. Open,
How you doing?
I'm fine, Dave, how about yourself?
Good, good to see you. Yeah, welcome back. I've seen you for a while.
Thank you.
I see her fine.
See you too much.
Yeah, we was marching. That'll be my last.
No more. How you
Good
doing?
morning. How's your daughter?
Still migraines.
I did some for my wife had. We give them a lot. I wanted your opinion, find out if this is harassment.
Until we pull that up, we will do a presentation.
I think, and my boss said to me this was noted that we get the.
It's HR.
Well, I'm gonna ask Mr. Rip on it.
That's a whole different world.
Yeah, that's true.
Said we're gonna change the little captions though for the football season, I'll send it back out.
That's the way you do this.
That's kind of what I do in
We are
basketball.
basketball fans. Everyone that they call
Well, when it came out last week, I'm going, right, they're probably guess that they're, I don't know for sure. We're in it.
Yeah. I didn't really think about it while I was saying it. I was gonna get cat out of the bag.
Yeah, we are too. I think you're, your architect down in Kansas City. Yes, I'm real impressed with the parts they did around the road. Yeah. Public records says there are gonna be anything to be done. But I think if we ever kill them, some of these will work, like metal. We have several there. There. I mean, it's not, they think it's yeah, this is gonna be fun. If we don't get to, I know you weren't there when the proposal, but it's exciting for us. Don't get to be on the ground floor of Oakland Regional Park for it.
Yeah, that's what
I didn't know the game over the weekend. Did like Shawnee and I we needed it'll be good. Yeah, this weekend, I saw on Twitter, we had college station
Oh, you're welcome. I know, don't launder it and bring it back. We don't need that, really. Oh. Okay. Heaven forbid we should be accommodating.
Everything aches.
Oh.
Someone's thinking going
Kurt saw you on TV today.
You did?
Well, you were being questioned about the.
maybe I got fired.
That's my favorite county clerk.
Well, I'm his only. Don't worry. Don't. I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
John Bell, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jane, would you get my glasses off? Thank you. Welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. It's March 2nd, 2020. On my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2, and on my left is Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3. I'm Bill Rippon, and I represent District 1. Good morning. Good morning. Very good. Thank you very much. What is first on the agenda?
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
I will move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $1,221,162.76. The largest item out of the voucher report is the JADO receipts, and that is $776,805.99. Following that is our holding accounts for the state of Kansas of $93,796.51, health insurance premiums of $93,203.09, Parks and Recreation for a combined expenditure of $87,245.47, and finally our coroner expenditure of $47,316.67. I do not have any questions regarding the vouchers and would move for their approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I will move that we approve correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item B, planning number 1, acknowledge receipt of the 2-year report reviewing a conditional use permit authorizing Kansas Sand and Concrete, Inc. to operate a land-based sand and gravel facility on the south bank of the Kansas River at Northwest 17th Street and Northwest Valencia Road, and a preview of the next 2 years of operations to ensure compliance with requirements of CU 05/7 and CU 12/07.
He's not here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we defer this to the maybe the tail end of the agenda?
Maybe Randy will be here at that point. Okay. Do we need to make a motion for that, or?
I'll make a motion to defer action until the end of the agenda.
I'll second that. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item C, facilities maintenance number 1, consider approval of request for $25,000 from the contingency fund to finance an emergency cleanup of sanitary sewer line backup at the Emergency Operations Center and emergency repairs to piping valves and a replacement of defective sewage ejection pump.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Kroll, Facilities Maintenance Director. On January 27th of this year, we had an issue that was not fun. The sewer ejection pump for the sub-basement seized up, stopped working, and water started backing up through every floor drain in the sub-basement. So we had a very unforeseen issue down there. Did get it all cleaned up. The new pump is on order. It's over 60 years old or right in that neighborhood, the pump that failed. And Chavez got everything cleaned up. We should expect some assistance from insurance, especially on our machinery insurance. Cindy and her crew have been working hard on that. At this point, asking for $25,000 from contingency. It should end up less than that based on the insurance reimbursement that we'll get from our machinery company. Answer any other questions you might have.
Questions?
I don't have any.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item C2, consider approval of request to pay Furniture Mall of Kansas a total of $4,716.55 for flooring replacement in the men's ADA restroom basement level with funding from the facilities maintenance operations budget.
Good morning again, Commissioners. This issue, when we were redoing the restrooms down here in the lower level, the men's room definitely came in over the estimate that Furniture Mall had placed for us, mainly due to the way the flooring was originally installed. There was terrazzo flooring in that restroom. Over the terrazzo, they did a poured epoxy, and taking it all up just ended up a nightmare. Had trouble even getting enough estimates to really move forward with this project, but the timing of it around the holidays prevented some action on it, as well as the fact that Furniture Mall said they could get right on it, which they did, and they did a really nice job on it, but it did come in over their estimate. So, and the funding for that would be from the facilities operating budget.
Eddie Griner, Director of Administrative Services. We're also asking for your approval to waive the purchasing policy on this because of the circumstances that he told you.
I'll move to waive the purchasing policy and to approve the expenditure.
Second?
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Next.
Item D, Parks and Recreation, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C87-2020, the 2020 Fit Lot Partnership Agreement sponsored by AARP for outdoor exercise equipment for Willow Park.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. So we're excited to be here today to talk about really our continued partnership with AARP of Kansas. If you'll remember last year, they purchased and we installed an expression swing at Ripley Park. And this year we're talking about a Fit Lot, which is outdoor exercise equipment. And I'll show you a couple of photos here in just a second. But we were really excited when they reached out to us about, it's been several months to talk about this process and this project. We're excited about it, and we think that it's a great deal for Shawnee County. AARP is actually going to pay, really it's a turnkey operation, so they're paying for all of this, including the safety surfacing, the concrete work, actually 3 months of training on the equipment. So I thought before I make some introductions, I would show you a couple of photos. Honestly, I stole this off the internet, but I like this photo because it kind of shows you the scale of the project as it looks in an existing park. So, and then here is, I believe, that's not very big, is it? Well, there's a tiny diagram of what the AARP looks like, about the Fit Lot looks like. So anyway, let's go back to the other one. It's much more impressive. With that, I would like to, I have some guests in the audience. I have Dr. Turner with AARP. All of these are actually, with the exception of one, are from AARP of Kansas. So Dr. Turner, Andy Bozarth, Mary Trish, and then a volunteer who I think many of you know, Glenda Du Bois. They're all here in the audience, and I think at least one of them, Dr. Turner, might have some comments. So, Dr. Turner.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited about this possible project to work again with Parks and Rec. Just to give you a little context for what we're doing, AARP works really hard to help people choose the way they age, and we know that people want to stay in their homes and communities, and one way to make the community more livable is to have these open spaces, to have these parks that people can go to, people of all ages. And so as part of our 60th anniversary, we are installing a Fit Lot in every state over a period of 3 years. And we chose Topeka because we think that this is a really great place to put it. And the Willow Park not only allows us to have an exercise pod or equipment that adults of all exercise levels can use, but it's right there near some equipment for kids. It'll be there near some equipment for kids. And so families can go to the park and exercise together. We are excited. We have been working across the state. We worked with the city to establish a grandparents park in Wichita. We worked in Kansas City to help establish a sidewalk around the park. You heard about this expression swing. We've worked in Lawrence. We've worked all across the state, and so we're excited to be in Topeka. So I stand ready for questions if you have any.
What a great partnership.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
And toys for people my age. I look a little silly on the play stretches. This may be a question for Tim. Will there be a rubber surface under this?
There will be, and it's pictured in here. But yeah, we'll have our regular poured-in-place safety surfacing underneath.
ADA accessible and everything.
Absolutely.
Very good. Will this be similar to some of the components we have at Hillcrest?
I believe it will. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little bit different configuration with the canopy over the top and that sort of thing.
I like the canopy. That's
Yeah,
nice.
it's really nice.
Okay.
I think this is a great opportunity for Shawnee County, and very happy that AARP is doing this, and for Willow Park, and really central Topeka.
We're happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for everything you've done.
It's close proximity to the hospitals. I mean, if you're doing some rehab and coming down to the hospitals or needing a place to go after your appointment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I would move for approval.
I will second that. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Next item.
Item D2, consider authorization and execution of contract C88-2020 with Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company to extend a current contract C458-2012 to December 31st, 2020, and permission to solicit a request for qualifications from interested beverage companies for product and sponsorship to be utilized throughout the park system.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. I take you back when we consolidated, both the city and the county used Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company. We ended up combining that contract, and it's expiring here at the end of this month. We'd like to extend it to the end of December. That gives us time to do a good RFP, and we're not, if we do choose another company, we're not under a time restraint getting all the machines changed over during the busy part of our season. So if we're hoping to go out in the fall and have a contract ready to go in January, and that gives us enough time for the 2021 season. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
How long was this last contract?
It was a 6-year agreement and then 4 one-year agreements after that.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item D3, consider authorization and execution of contract C89-2020 with Jolene Thorpe to provide entertainment services, $150 per set, and contract C90-2020 with Hazel Hill Chocolate Traditions to provide food services, $250 per request for the 2020 Tulip Time or Tulips at Twilight Uncorked event with the funding from the Parks for All Foundation.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Bell, Recreation Program Supervisor, Old Prairie Town. We are seeking approval on the attached contracts. This is the second set of Tulips at Twilight and Tulips at Twilight Uncorked contracts. We had a few stragglers when we were getting contracts in, so that's why we did it in 2 different parts, or commission meetings. Tulips at Twilight Uncorked will take place April 9th. Tulips at Twilight will run continuously April 10th through the 26th from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. each night. I would be happy to answer any questions. And I may point out, too, that all the funding for these contracts will be funded using Parks for All Foundation funds, not county dollars.
Any questions? I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
That's if I can help volunteer with the Hazel Hill.
I'm sure we can work something out.
Motion's been made by, did you make the motion or did I?
You made the motion.
Motion been made by Commissioner Ribbon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item D4, consider approval of request to award the bid for the Family Park Master Plan to HTK Architects and permission to negotiate a contract for services utilizing $56,000 from the Capital Outlay Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent again, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. Give you a little background. We had 11 firms submit proposals for the Family Park RFP. We had an internal committee that reviewed those proposals and narrowed them down to our top 5. From there, we put together a panel that included myself, Randy Luby, John Boyd, Jeremy Myers, Josh Lehman, Kurt Niehaus, and Jim Martin from our advisory board, who interviewed the top 5 firms. It was a unanimous selection that we chose HTK Architects from that process as the most responsive bidder. From that point, we presented our findings to the Professional Selection Committee. They concurred with our findings for HTK, and we're here today to ask for permission to move into contract negotiations with HTK Architects. With that, I'd stand for any questions.
As part of this contract, I suppose we'll have lots of public input. So I've been getting a lot of calls from people, different groups that are interested in being part of this project, and a lot of concerned citizens. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think public engagement was really one of the highest, one of the things that we weighted these responses, public engagement played a big role in that. So I think that HTK will do an excellent job in involving the public. We want to hear their feedback. It's their park. We want to know what people want to see in it.
Sure. Can you walk us through just kind of briefly the timeline of events upon if we select HTK to do the design? What sort of timeline will we be looking at?
In their proposal, they had if I remember correctly, about a 2-month timeline. Quite honestly, I think that is probably very ambitious. I think we could get it done in 2 months. I think it'll take 2 to 3 months would be my estimate. And the reason I say that is that I don't want to rush the process of public engagement. I want to make sure we have plenty of opportunities for people to be heard. So, long story short, I think you're looking anywhere from 2.5 to 3 month process once we sign the agreement.
And we will be getting some numbers too for the different components, so as we phase this park in, we'll have some.
Absolutely, that's my expectation. Yes.
So approximately by the end of May into early June, we should be looking at maybe narrowing down and defining what we'd be looking at for Family Park.
I believe that's accurate. We'll come back before this commission and present our findings and then decide where we're going to go from there.
I've had, like I said, a number of groups that have contacted me. I suppose maybe some of the other commissioners have as well. And there's kind of building excitement what's going to happen out there, and I'm looking forward to that. I will move to approve the awarding the bid to HTK.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item E, Commission, consider approval of appointment of Ryan George to the Shawnee County Fire District Number 4 Board.
I would move that we approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications. Oh, wait, did he,
We need to go back to, did Randy, he's not here.
defer it?
Maybe we should
Thursday?
defer till Thursday.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we defer this. Or do we have?
Pardon?
Sure.
We have
Yes.
people that are here to speak.
Is he-
I did call and say he was on his way, so.
If I,
We can move it.
if we could, I mean, I know that there's a number of the public that are here. I think that they would want to be able to speak on the item rather than having to come back again.
Sure. We could do public comment and then
Yeah, it's
come back to this. All right. Let's just do that. Let's just.
We'll go, why don't we
Let's do
just rest this,
administrative
open
Yeah.
this up now and then get public comment. Is that what you want to do? Just go back to this one?
He's here.
He's here.
Oh, he's here. All right. All right.
Would
You
you
wanna
like
go?
to read them? Okay.
Yes, go ahead and read that.
Planning, acknowledge receipt of a 2-year report reviewing a conditional use permit and authorizing Kansas Sand and Concrete, Inc. to operate a land-based sand and gravel facility on the south bank of the Kansas River at Northwest 17th Street and Northwest Valencia Road, and a preview of the next 2 years of operations to assure compliance with requirements of CU 0507 and CU 1207.
Morning, Commissioners. This is something that this applicant has been required to do for the last 15 years. They're about 16 years. Just so you have a handle on what they're doing, we're able to, as a county, to go out and look at the roads, see if their trucks or operations are doing any damage to any of the roads out there, and make recommendations to you and to the applicant for things they need to consider to upgrade the roads to accommodate the next 2 years of cycle of their operations. You had that letter of comment from from the Public Works Department stating their recommendations. Just some minimal things they need to take care of. By granting this, by accepting this report, you essentially maintain the CUP. They're not operating actively right now. They want to reserve the right to operate in the future, so they need to go through this process to keep the CUP alive for the next 2 years before they have to come back and do this again. So, any questions?
Randy, can you talk to us a bit about the road conditions first? I mean, I think that's what has a lot of the residents concerned is the road conditions. How does Public Works grade it? How do they determine? Do you do a year-by-year analysis? Do you do it by road grade? What's the process you're going through?
I'm gonna let the official spokesman of Public Works.
Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. As far as the road condition, this year Tom Flanagan went out, drove the road, looked at it, looked at the conditions or the areas that needed some action or he thought might need some action in the near future. And then I think made an overall recommendation of what should occur this year. I think it involved a chip seal. So, I mean, we've looked at it. We understand that the sand operation has been really non-operational for the last 2 years. I think there's been a total of 4 loads that have traversed the road in that time. So really any degradation of the road that has occurred in the last 2 years is what I would say more environmental and normal degradation that occurs like every other road. So.
And the recommendations, if you could just outline the recommendations for Kansas Sand and Gravel regarding the road.
There were a couple areas that need to be watched, possibly patched, and then again there was a recommendation for a chip seal. What we have to keep in mind is I don't think it is right to require the sand operations to make repairs if they're not responsible for the degradation of the road. So we're trying to balance that. Again, between normal use, normal degradation, and degradation due to heavy sand trucks using the road. So at this time, we think most of the degradation that has occurred over the last 2 years is more normal and not due to the sand operations. The public may disagree, but we'll find that out.
How many other businesses use this road?
I don't think there's any other business, heavy industry or business that use the roads. I mean, there's obviously a number of residential properties alongside the road, but no other industry with heavy truck traffic.
What's the length of this road? What are we talking about?
Oh, it's probably, I'm guessing, a mile and a quarter at least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have, notice was sent out of today's action. Was it sent out to the public? Was it sent out to Kansas Sand and Gravel? Randy, what kinds of notice was sent out?
Well, actually, the way this process works is we got a letter from Kansas Sand and Gravel asking for their renewal. They turn in the plan that you have before you, and that's their requirement to do that in a timely way. They did it before the deadline was for them to make the request. There is no other notice other than just posting it on this agenda, but there's no letter of contact that goes out to anybody else who joins the property. This is their specific responsibility as a condition of the CUP granted 2005 and renewed in 2012. Nothing else was done, especially for this item.
Okay. Thank you.
But they haven't operated the same for 2 years, you said?
Approximately, they I don't know when the exact date was that they pretty much ceased operations, but it's been no more than 2 years because they came before you in 2018 to do the same process.
Is all the equipment still in place there?
Yes, it is. They indicated that at some point they may be taken away. I think there's some kind of a floating apparatus that's on the water. You're gonna pull that out. I don't recall what that is exactly, but it seems like from the letter they are scaling down the operations and are limiting the use to pretty much sand when they'll be starting up again. that'll be the primary thing that they mine from the property.
How many sand operations do we have on the river right now?
I don't have that information off the top of my head.
Do we have anyone else here that'd like to speak on this subject?
Hi, thank you. My name is Lou Allen. I got to tell you, I wasn't really prepared to come speak on this issue. It just happened to be on the same agenda wherein I requested that a board member be added to our fire department. But when I saw that this morning, I thought, maybe I'll take an opportunity and come here. I actually live on that road. I'm going to say, haven't had much sand activity, I agree, in the last couple of years. However, I do believe that the CUP is specific as to who is responsible for the maintenance of this road during the use of the CUP. And putting it upon the taxpayers of Shawnee County, that's not what's in this CUP. So in any maintenance that has to occur, I think that Kansas Sand has to be responsible and has to take a financial interest in that in order to maintain the CUP. And from what I heard, there seemed to be some, I don't know, rhetoric that they shouldn't be. That's all I have to say. I'd be happy to answer any questions out there because I do live out there. I'm actually on the road. You asked how long it is. It's about 2 miles to the facility. They've come in and paved it clear to the facility. It is strictly residential out there, agricultural. There's some agricultural fields. In fact, I think Kansas Sand now owns the property all around the sand pit area and operates agricultural activity out of that.
I don't have any questions for Lou. Thank you.
Kurt, you said that it appeared to be just normal wear and tear on the road the last couple of years. There's not any truck traffic on there at this point. But does the Kansas Sand still have responsibility for upkeep of the road, even though they're not using it?
Yeah, and I will say, I'm not privy to any documentation that's been provided to the commission this morning as it relates to the amount of traffic, the amount of sand they pulled out of there. I do see that you accepted that, and maybe I'll get a copy of that to see exactly what it says, so I can't speak as to how much traffic actually has been out there.
Yeah, Kurt Naus, Director of Public Works. Again, looking at the report that Kansas Sand prepared, if I recall correctly, there was only, I believe, 4 trucks that were, 4 loaded trucks that were, that removed product out of that sand plant this year. This is from a pit or a stockpile that had already been present. Operations have not occurred over the last 2 years. And again, it's my understanding, based on the history, is that, yes, when Kansas Sand is in operation, they are responsible for the repair to the road. Because, as I've talked to you in the past, as an engineer, roads are damaged by truck traffic. That's how they're designed. When there's no truck traffic on the road, I don't believe we have put that responsibility for normal wear and tear on Kansas Sand. When they begin operations again, of course, we will adhere to the resolution that was created, and we will make sure that Kansas Sand fulfills their obligations. Until then, I think it's the responsibility of Shawnee County Public Works, the maintenance department, to maintain that road as they see fit, just like every other road in the county system.
Thank you. Yes.
Kurt, how much do you anticipate it's going to cost us to, improve this road to our standards?
Well, I don't think it's going to cost a lot. I think the recommendation was a chip seal, and if we do a chip seal this year with our maintenance forces, it won't be, the lady, I assume she is correct, that it's a 2 mile all the way to the plant. It won't cost a lot. I don't have an exact cost at this time, but I can provide it. So I don't think, we wouldn't let that project to a contractor. We would do that in-house with our own maintenance people as part of our normal 45 to 50 mile per year chip seal program.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
if I could.
Yes.
Maybe Jim, if you mind, just as our legal counsel, to give us a background, since it appears there's an issue as to just the background and history for the road condition.
Jim Krause, Shawnee County Counselor. I would appreciate it if you'd give me a time to go back and look at this. This was done 15 years ago, and I was here 15 years ago, but I did not work on this project. So if you'd allow me to take a look at the cup and go back through the history of this, I'll be happy to get you a direct answer as to responsibility for this during times where operations have lapsed.
And I think that specifically what you're going to be looking at is on the resolution from 2006, page 3, section 5, the traffic impact analysis. And it specifically says, assess the impact of sustained volumes of heavy truck traffic on Northwest Valencia Road. And I think that's what the key is going to turn on, whether or not it was to be for all Valencia Road issues or based on the traffic impact analysis of volumes of heavy volume truck. So
I apologize for not having that at my fingertips. I'll have something specific for you by the time we meet on Thursday.
Kurt, what about bridges, culverts, anything like that? Or does any of that come into play along here?
Oh, of course, but I don't believe there's been any problems with any culverts or anything like that.
not in the last few years,
No.
Mr. Chairman. Up, Ms. Allen, you gotta come up, you can't just.
I believe there's a Union Pacific or a, I don't know which one, railroad track that, a crossing that the trucks have to go across. That does create problems over time due to its levitation. That's the only obstruction. I think there's also a small bridge there in Valencia, in the north part of the railroad track, in the river plain, as I would call it, area.
Thank you. In 2018.
I would state also that this is a very curvy road. You need to know that. Residential, curvy, a lot of blind spots.
Thank you.
Commissioners, in 2019, we did have, or 2018, we did have some repairs that were recommended in replacing some parts of the Valencia Road. So it may not be in this part, but in the past, we've had some conditions placed upon Kansas City gravel for culvert work, asphalt work, so.
Again, it's my impression from the people I've talked to, that was when the plant was in operation. And I just want to remind the public that railroad crossings are the responsibility of the railroad to maintain.
And again, specifically page of the original 2006 resolution, page 5, section 15, replacement of a wooden culvert structure on the south side of the railroad tracks, where the applicant's cost was $47,500. Anyway,
All right.
based on the information, is there any, Mr. Chairman, if we can ask if there's anybody else that wishes to speak?
Yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this subject? I don't see any.
I would move to defer final action on this item until the Thursday, the 5th.
I'll second that. Motion's been made. Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. All right. Next item.
Item 5, administrative communications.
All right, back to that. If anybody has any comment, public or department heads, this is your time.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dusty Nichols, Emergency Management. I just want to remind everybody that this week is Severe Weather Awareness Week. We live in Kansas, and it's unpredictable, and the National Weather Service every year sponsors this week, and every day is a different discussion. But the kickoff the week is today is the planning, make a plan, be prepared. And just to go over a couple things that maybe people don't think about when they're creating a plan, specifically communications plan, know how to get a hold of your family. We all are busy with school and sports and dance and theater and whatever else we do, so we get separated, especially in the early evenings, where sometimes we just get to where we can't talk to each other. So make a plan and have a place to meet up, so you can't rely on cell towers, batteries, all those kinds of things, power. So just have a communications plan and know where to meet up when something happens. Have a way to get the notification. So if there's a storm or anything that would cause some disruption in your life, have a way to get that notification, whether it's a phone app, our sirens, weather radios, whatever the case may be. Have multiple ways of getting that in case one fails. And prepare, review your family plans, review your business plans, your continuity plans. Know what would happen if there was a employee shortage for an illness or injury or something like that, or they can't come to work because they don't have a vehicle or can't get to work because of roads blocked, those kinds of things. So review your plans. If you have meds, make sure you have enough to go through that. And if you have refrigerated meds, make sure you have a plan to do that. Take care of your pets, of course, and anyone who needs assistance, whether it's grandparents or kids or whatever else may be, maybe a neighbor. And then practice your plan. Know about that safe room. When we have tomorrow we will have the statewide tornado drill, and that's at 10 a.m. We encourage everyone, business and personal, to go to your shelter when that goes off. We've heard stories in the past where people went to their shelters in a business, and the business wasn't big enough to house all the people that were in their building at the time. So practice those plans and see if all your plans will work. That's a good time to do it. And then if you want to go the extra mile, take first aid courses, CPR, those kinds of things to be able to help your neighbors. And if you need any help, contact our office through social media is the best way, through our Facebook sites, Twitter, Nextdoor. You can also contact the FEMA sites or www.ready.gov, and they have some ideas on how to make a plan. And again, I really want businesses to really focus on taking care of their people who show up or in their business when a storm happens and how to deal with that. So practice those plans. And again, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Tuesday, tomorrow, as the statewide tornado drill. And just as a point of reference, there was 89 tornadoes in Kansas in 2019, and we had no deaths. That, to me, either means we're lucky or people are actually practicing and doing what we're asking them to do, and so they know what to do. And then tonight, we have our severe weather awareness, part of the severe weather awareness week we have at the Bradbury Thompson Center at Washburn University at 3 p.m. today. And 7 p.m., we have the National Weather Service giving the 90-minute presentation for severe storm spotters. And we will be giving, emergency management will be giving 5 weather radios away at each one of those things. So please come out and see us, get some information, and be prepared. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oaks from the Health Department. I would like to give you an update on COVID-19 and some of the preparations that we are making here in Shawnee County. And first, I'm going to call on our health officer, Dr. Gianfranco Pizzino, to talk about his role in an outbreak, and you can ask him questions.
Good morning, Commissioners. Gianfranco Pizzino, Shawnee County Health Officer. I'm sure you're all aware of the fact that the new virus emerged in China about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and since then it has spread pretty fast throughout multiple countries in the world, to the point that some people are starting to think that this will become a pandemic, which means the virus is going to establish in most of the globe. The reason why that's important, if it becomes a pandemic, is because it affects the way we are going to try to control this virus. Up until now, we in the United States have implemented an approach that is referred to as containment. What containment does is try to keep the virus outside of our communities. And as you are aware, there have been travel restrictions and other measures put in place at the federal level. And probably for the reason we haven't really seen a lot of that virus in the United States. However, things are changing around the world, and they're also changing in the United States. Just last couple of days, I'm sure you have heard, clusters of cases have been reported from inside the United States that lead people to believe the virus may be with us. And when the virus comes in a community, then we shift gear. we no longer can do containment. By definition, containment is trying to keep the virus out. Can do that. The virus is already with us. So we do something called mitigation. What mitigation is essentially is trying to slow down the spread of the virus as much as we can so that we don't overcome the healthcare system and all the essential services at large. Think about having a certain number of people who are going to acquire a virus. If you chart that, and if the virus is going to be acquired, if these people are going to be sick, say in a period of 30 days, you will see a line and then a big peak, and then after 30 days it comes down and goes away. Now imagine the same number of people spread over a period of 6 months. There is a line, and it would be a much smaller peak, more sustained, and then it will go down. It's much easier for any community to cope with a curve like the ladder that I described, where you have the same number of cases spread over a longer period of time than a shorter period of time. Infrastructures are not going to be as overwhelmed, and it's going to give us time to see if we can find a treatment and if we can find a vaccine. So that's what mitigation does. And the way we do mitigation essentially is by practicing social distancing. What that means is we try to stay away from people who are sick or people who could potentially be sick and transmit the virus. Now, unfortunately, one of the things that this virus does is that it can be transmitted from person to person before the infected person shows any symptoms. So that complicates the picture quite a bit. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Nobody has a crystal ball. But we suspect that the virus may come to many communities in the United States. We have no reason to think that Topeka would be immune for this. May or may not happen, but if it happens, I want you to know that we are ready. And I also want you and the public to know what are some of the measures that we may need to put in place when we put these mitigation strategies in effect. Definitely everybody who is sick will have to be put in isolation, either at home or in the hospital if they are hospitalized. But there may be more drastic measures that may be necessary. I'm sure you heard what's going on in Italy and other countries in Europe as well. The Louvre Museum was closed over the weekend because of this virus. The Duomo in Milan has been closed for 2 weeks. When they cancel soccer games in Italy, you know things are really serious. And they have. Schools are closed, not throughout the entire country in Italy, but in places where there are more cases. These are some of the measures that create some social distance. And again, they will not stop the virus. The virus will still be with us at that point, but it will spread more slowly. So it will allow people and the healthcare system to cope with the consequences in a more efficient and effective way. Our message to you and to the public is pretty simple. Well, first of all, don't panic. This is not going to be a death sentence. This is not the plague. It's a virus. For the vast majority of people, it will result in a mild fever and cough. Some people may become more sick, and a few people may die. The death rate right now is estimated around 2% of everybody who acquires the infection. But keep in mind that so far we have only detected probably the people who are more sick as infections. So we don't know how many people actually were sick. So the number may go down. So don't panic is really the most essential thing. There is really no reason to panic and bring our society to a halt. There are some things that can be done right now if you're sick. Cover your mouth when you cough, wash your hands a lot, and stay home if you're sick. And then there are some things that people can do to prepare. In case we have the social distancing strategies put in place, have some plan. What's going to happen if, say, your child care center is closed for a period of a few weeks? If you have to work from home, talk to your employer. What are the conditions under which that would be possible? There is a lot of talking about stockpiling. I'm a little cautious about that. I don't recommend that people go out and empty all the shelves in the grocery store. We are not forecasting a shutdown of society here. We are just forecasting perhaps the possibility of reducing social gathering. So we are not going to close the grocery store. We are not going to have to stockpile food for the next 3 months. It may be wise if you have prescription medications to make sure that you have at least a couple of weeks to a month, maybe a supply on hand. But most of all, be prepared with plans on how this is going to affect your family. If somebody's sick in your family, do you have a safe place where they can stay while they recover so that they don't infect everybody else in the family? Things of this nature is something that can be done now while we wait to see what happens later. Linda will tell you more about the details of what the health department is doing, but I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'll be glad to stand here for your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Zia. So the health department is getting prepared, and we are working very closely with emergency management. We have an incident action plan that's been in place for about 3 weeks, and so I am the incident commander. And then we have Craig Barnes is here. You want to stand up, Craig? He's the public information officer, so you'll be hearing from him. Esther Limon is here. She's the liaison officer. She's doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the paperwork. And of course, we're working with the staff in emergency preparedness, emergency management, to get prepared and to get messaging out. So I just want to stress the things that Dr. Pizzino said are so important. What Dusty said, this is the time to have your plans in place, and then you'll be ready for either a virus or a tornado or anything else that could happen. We should have those preparations in place, get those plans done. We have several infographics. They look like this. They're on our Facebook page, created by our staff, that go over plans for your emergency plan, how to prepare that. We have prepared for school and child care changes. What happens if your child care closes and your school closes? Personal health habits and home-based preparedness. This is so important. It's really important to do good hand washing, 20 seconds. Cover your nose and mouth with in your sleeve or a tissue and throw it away. Stay home if you're sick. I can't say that enough. I say it all through flu season. I'll say it again. Please stay home if you're sick. It will help with the spread. And then have some supplies on hand. I do have some small bottles of hand sanitizer. This is going to last you several months. It doesn't take much, and I can hand those out. I've heard that they're hard to get in the store right now, so I would again stress, please don't hoard materials because there will be plenty to have if you don't, have 2 years supply at home. It is wise to have at least a month or two of your prescription medications on hand. And again, just have those conversations. I had the conversation this weekend with my dad. He's elderly, he has COPD. What does he need to do to be prepared for this? So I think that's the most important thing, is just get your plans ready, be prepared. Like Dr. Pizzino said, don't panic, but yet have those preparation and have those things ready to go. And I think that's the best thing you can do. I will add, the other thing we're doing is we're meeting with nursing homes, hospitals, schools to help them prepare. We have documentation ready for them. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment has put out a toolkit that we're using. There's information on their website. There's information on our website. Please use credible websites, too, when you're getting information. There's a lot of misinformation. So CDC, KDHE, the Shawnee County Health Department, we will have the scientifically based, credible information. So is there anything else I need to add? I would ask my staff folks. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions? Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Of course.
I just wanted to mention real quick how exactly this is going to happen, if it is going to happen, and who has the authority to make those decisions. Kansas law is pretty clear about that. Public health control measures are implemented at the local level, and they are decided at the local level. I know you all know, but the public may not be aware of that. You are the Board of Health for Shawnee County. The 3 county commissions are also the 3 Board of Health members for Shawnee County, and you appointed a health officer, which is me, who is in charge of taking all the necessary measures to prevent the spread of disease. So in practice, should we decide that it's necessary to limit school activities, for example, for a period of a week or 2, I would issue an order that would establish that for Shawnee County. And that order is in effect immediately. It can be appealed to a court. There is an appeal process described in the law, but the appeal does not stop the implementation of the order itself. I'm not saying that to scare anybody. I take that responsibility very serious. Those of you who know me, I've been in this position for about 10 years. I never had to take these actions before. But I know that sometimes these actions may be necessary. And so if they are necessary, I want you all to know that we are preparing for that. We will communicate with our public in a very transparent and open way. Nobody will be surprised to wake up one day and know that the Shawnee County Health Department has decided the school will not be in session for this week.
Thank you very much.
Now that I have your attention, again, I want to remind the public that beginning this morning, traffic control goes up on Southeast 29th. That means there will be one lane in each direction on the south side of the road. The contractor's working on the north side. The intersections with the Aquarius Drive and Wittenberg Road will be closed. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Cook?
I don't think I have anything.
Nope, nothing for me.
Well, I had the opportunity to speak to a Rotary Club last week, the West Side Rotary Club. It's a good group. It's always good to get out and talk to the public a little bit about what we're doing. Also attended the Hot to Trot, the fundraiser for the symphony this weekend. It's a good event, well attended, and they raised some good money for that. Larry Mall was there helping out, so thank you for that. That's all I have. There's no need for executive session today, so we are adjourned.
Yes, here. Let me get these to the commissioners. Commissioner, minutes to sign.
Okay. Sounds like everybody got out of their hostile.
And
That's